Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at specific theories of motivation that have really been at the forefront of business and psychology. And we're going to look at how the authors of these models and these theories are similar but yet different. So let's take a look at some of the specific theories now as we examine motivation in the workplace. Okay, welcome back. As we move along in Chapter 8, Motivation and Empowerment, today we're going to be looking at a few more theories of motivation. Now, Hertzberg had a theory called the two-factor theory. And essentially what Hertzberg believed in was that within the realm of motivation, there are two considerations that we have to make. First of all, there are hygiene factors. And these are the factors that will have to be in the workplace or the worker won't come to work, period. It could be pay, working conditions, company policies, as you see here, interpersonal relationships. If these are absent, then the person is going to walk out the door. They have to be there. That's why it's called hygiene factors. These are basic needs that have to be met. But just because all of these are present doesn't mean that the person is going to be motivated. So Hertzberg developed the theory further along to say that there have to be motivators as well, which involves job satisfaction, higher level needs that we saw with Maslow's theory. Achievement, recognition, and opportunity for growth would be those higher levels. So both of these have to be joined where you have both the hygiene factors and the motivators working before the person really would be motivated to come to work, and not just come to work, but to perform. Now, Exhibit 8.5 gives us a visual depiction of that. If a person is highly satisfied, they're going to be in an environment that recognizes achievement, gives them recognition, responsibility, work itself, personal growth. All of these things have to be there for that person to be motivated to work. Dissatisfied working conditions, if the hygiene factors aren't there, pay and security, company policies, supervisors, interpersonal relationships, it makes no difference how good the environment is. If the person can't make enough money to live, they're not going to be able to stay. And conversely, if you have a high-paying job, but the work environment is awful, where you just are stressed out, chances are you're not going to stay either in that position or anywhere in that organization. So Hertzberg believed that there had to be motivators and hygiene factors working together for that person to be able to stay and to be motivated to perform. Now, Henry McClellan developed what he called the acquired needs theory, and it proposes that certain types of needs, the need for achievement, the need for affiliation, and the need for power, are acquired during an individual's lifetime. So let's take a look at that. The need for achievement, and that's just the desire to accomplish difficult tasks, to keep challenging yourself, and as you succeed in achieving your goals and so forth, it's going to motivate you to go higher and achieve more things. The need for affiliation, and this is the desire to perform or to have close personal relationships and avoid conflict. So here you have people who need to feel like they belong. And if you remember Maslow talking about those belongingness needs, this is what this individual needs. And the need for power, and this is a desire to influence or control others. So a person's need for power or authority is high on the needs list for this individual. Now, there are other motivational theories as well. You have reinforcement theory, expectancy theory, and equity theory. So let's take a look at those also today. Reinforcement theory is a motivational theory that looks at the relationship between behavior and its consequences. by changing or modifying followers' on-the-job behavior through the appropriate use of immediate rewards or punishment. Now, when we get into these types of theories, what we're looking at here are behavioral theories. And behavioral theorists believe that they can make you do anything they want you to do. All they have to do is to apply the right rewards or punishments, and you will pretty much follow suit with whatever they want you to do. The prison system, for instance, they use behavioral theories to control the inmates, and they do that by giving rewards or distributing punishments to the inmates for behaviors that are either desirable or undesirable. Now, the reinforcement perspective on motivation, you have behavior modification, which you want to modify behavior. Let's say, for instance, you want a person to you want them to learn a new trade within that organization. So you may give them a bonus of $500 once they've completed the training. Well, chances are that person is going to be motivated to finish that training so he or she can receive that type of reward. Or you may want to have the person stop using or stop engaging in a negative behavior. They may be slow, or they may not be able to handle some type of operation within that organization. That's a part of their job. So you may threaten them with punishment. Hey, if you don't get on board, you're going to be fired. So that would motivate that individual also. Now, the law of effect states that positively reinforced behavior tends to be repeated, and behavior that is not reinforced tends not to be repeated. And what we're talking about here is a concept that we call extinction. This was made popular back when a guy named Henry Pavlov did a study with his dogs. And what he did was he called his dogs up and he rang a bell. And whenever he rang a bell, he put some meat down in front of those dogs. And seeing that meat and smelling that meat, it made him salivate. And he would repeat it each day. He would ring a bell, and when they came to the plate, there would be some meat there. And after a while, they got used to hearing that bell, and when they heard that bell and saw that meat, every time they would salivate. Well, Pavlov took the meat away and rang the bell, and the dogs came and they started salivating. They were just programmed to get that positive reinforcement. And they were doing that for a while, but after a while, when the dogs realized that even when he rang the bell, they were not getting any meat, they stopped salivating. So they reverted back to the old behavior. And that's what we call extinction. So when you are modifying behavior and you're using positive reinforcements, you need to continually do that until it becomes a part of that person's life or routine. Now, reinforcement is anything that causes a certain behavior to be repeated or inhibited. And then positive reinforcement is giving someone something rewarding and pleasant as a result of that behavior. Now, negative reinforcement is withdrawing an unpleasant consequence once a behavior is improved. For instance, prisoners, if they act up, they may go into solitary confinement. Now, after a while, I guess that gets on the prisoner's nerves or makes them, very uneasy or agitated or whatever. So if they behave, you may take that punishment away from them. You may put them back in a general population. So taking away a consequence is a form of negative reinforcement. Punishment is when you impose an outcome on a person for undesirable behavior. If that inmate was fighting and you put them in solitary confinement, that would be their punishment. And then extinction, I've already explained that. It's the likelihood that the old behaviors will return unless the new behaviors are continually reinforced. And that's an important aspect when it comes to training, folks, because a lot of times we train the person, but we don't reinforce those new behaviors. And if not, they can go right back to their old behaviors, which are counterproductive. Now, Exhibit 8.6 is just a diagram of shaping behavior with reinforcements, so I'll let you guys take a look at that as we move on to the next slide, expectancy theory. Expectancy theory is a theory that came out by a guy named Victor Vroom, and expectancy theory is a theory that suggests that motivation depends on individuals' mental expectations about their ability to perform tasks and receive desired rewards. Now, really what expectancy theory says, in a nutshell, is that before I do anything, I'm going to evaluate that behavior based on several things. First of all, do I believe that I can accomplish whatever objective there may be? Secondly, am I certain that the reward is going to be given if I accomplish that behavior? And third, how much value do I place on that reward? If the reward is not worth the behavior, then chances are I'm not going to engage in that behavior. So let's take a look at this as it's outlined here. Expectancy. Will putting the effort into the task lead to the desired performance? Will high performance lead to the desired outcome? And are the available outcomes highly valued? And if it is, then you're motivated. For instance, you believe that you can obtain a degree, and that's why you're here. And you expect that your performance, your ability to get through these classes will lead to that degree. And that degree is highly valued. So that motivates you to sit through these classes. That motivates you to study. That motivates you to keep pushing through so that you can finish your degree and move on to other things. So this is an overview really of just some of the basic theories of motivation, and tomorrow we'll finish up and go into a little bit more detail about some of the aspects of motivation. Well, today we looked at some important theories that regard motivation, such as expectancy theory. Expectancy theory is a very important theory inasmuch as it tells us that we're not going to do anything unless we've measured how much it's going to take our effort in relation to the payoff that we're going to receive. We also took a look at hygiene factors and motivational factors of Hertzberg's two-factor theory. All of these theories, they're not mutually exclusive. You can use all of these theories in part or in whole as you develop your leadership style. But understanding the nature of what people do and why they do it is important if you're going to be an effective leader. Well, that's all we have for today. We'll see you tomorrow as we finish up this chapter in motivation.